What is up? I'm Jared Welch. He's Aaron Halterman. It's Thursday, January 12th, and this is Bleakers Off. What's up, man?
What is up, everybody? It's good to be back. Another show today, and we're going to talk Derby, and that's always fun. We don't have a Derby prep this weekend, but we do have a lot to talk about. Kind of reset the scene before we get, week after week of preps.
Yeah, and I don't know what it's like. I know it's like where you live, but there's my buddy. Hey, what's up? I don't know what it's like where the people, everyone listening lives, but yesterday felt like it could have been the Arkansas Derby, and today feels like it's the start of the season, basically in December.
Weather has kicked in without any doubt. Weather has kicked in. It's snowing today, and not nice here in Missouri. I'm glad Oaklawn isn't running today. Probably pretty brutal down there as well. Not too far away from where we're at, but that's just it. It's January, and that's the racing season in January is kind of like that. You never know what you're going to get from a weather standpoint, and that's why tracks like Santa Anita and Gulfstream are so popular this time of year.
Well, and a lot of people still to this day, when they ask me about, people that like friends or friends of family or whatever, like they know what I do, and like, hey, when's Oaklawn start? And I'll be like, it's going, like it's been going since December, and they're like, really? Why would they do that? And then I think a lot of people don't realize it's like, no, actually it's this month and even into February, when Oaklawn would get all the cancellations and the ice and I can't count how many times we've had issues down there. But in December, it's fine down there. So it's like, that's why they do it. So, this is like this time of the year, you start seeing the snow, and some of these aqueducts. And of course, like you said, Gulfstream, Santa Anita, that's where, speaking of Santa Anita, we'll talk about this horse here in a little bit. We're going to do a full Kentucky Derby update, but, for you last week, you had a really bad downer, and then you had a nice bounce back. Your Rutter's horse did not look good, and we kind of talked about that horse last week about if some of these horses don't run well, they may not go on with the Derby trail. Seems like maybe not for him. But then Reincarnate goes and wins. It wins at 16-1. The other Bob Baffert of the field holds off both the other Bob Bafferts and wins. So you had to have been kind of a down, and then like, oh, okay, now I might have a legit horse here.
Yeah, I was pretty excited for Reincarnate, and I guess we can kind of start with him when we do our preview. But he definitely looks like a grinder, going to be tough to pass him type. Not so much he can burst and kick away from you type. And so you're gonna, if you're behind him, you're gonna have some talent. You're gonna have some kick to get by. And he got a 95 buyer for that win. I thought that was, that's pretty darn solid. He was about 2.5 seconds faster than any other mile race that day. However, those were very cheap horses that were running a mile on that day. But still, it was some good signs. And, his stablemate Newgate comes up to him and he just kind of fended him off and turned him away. I thought that was good. And then, of course, National Treasure. And I want to get into, once we get to our segment on this, what does that finish by National Treasure mean for some of those horses that he's been beating or that have been beating him, like Cave Rock and Forte?
I know. Yeah. There's a lot to, I wanted to get into that as well with just the Bafferts in general, and kind of how to figure out which ones is which and how to approach some of them. I think that's, we're kind of getting into the next couple of weeks in interesting territory with some of those horses. But I'm trying to remember what, of course we'll talk about Lugan Knight winning the Jerome, about what that means, if that means anything at all. We got some races to talk about this weekend. Obviously not a lot of stakes action going on this weekend. We'll do rapid fire with some of the main ones. We do have an Oaks prep at Aqueduct to talk about, but there are some allowance / main special weights races like that might have some impact still, as these 3-year-olds are kind of getting ready to maybe start their path towards the Kentucky Derby. So we'll talk a little bit about those horses as well. It still seems very much up in the air, as it should. Some of the big dogs still kind of yet to make their plans known of where we're going to see them next. And that seems to be the big point right now, is some of these big ones, we don't know when we're going to see, for sure when we're going to see Forte next. When are we going to see Arabian Night? When are you going to see Extra Neho, who's back in training now? So it's just some of these big ones, you're still kind of holding your breath and waiting, hoping they get a start here pretty soon.
And that's why these early races right now are kind of becoming more and more important. When you don't hear news on horses, that's not the greatest sign. So you're starting to look, okay, who's the up and comers that can maybe come up, and when the big ones do come back, they can beat them. And that's kind of what we're looking at right now, and what we're going to look at, down the road here when we have our little segment on it, and what's to be expected. I can kind of tell you a little bit about where some of these horses might be pointing as far as rumors that I've heard, but that's about all. No official word on a lot of these horses.
Yeah, and we are, the thing is, like, what you kind of, it's always weird every year. You like Derby, and then Pegasus, and you kind of pause for that. So we got that coming up, obviously, here in a couple of weeks. Cyberknife seems to be the headliner there. It's it's definitely a weaker edition than it is a lot of the years for the Pegasus. And then I did see a couple of days ago, I don't remember where I saw it, but that Taba might be pointing towards Saudi.
Yep.
So that makes sense. I feel like a race that obviously Bob Baffert points his horses to quite a bit. And, it might be the start of a really big year for him. What should be, I would assume is the favorite. If there is a future wager on your horse of the year for next year, or this year, I guess I should say, it feels like he would be one of the top choices, if not the top choice.
Yeah, and you'd love to see him in the Pegasus, but you understand why. I mean, they're going for that money over there at Saudi, and it's a race. Like I said, he's going to be one of the better ones, and it's a race he's probably going to be favored in. So I get it, but yeah, it's interesting. The Pegasus, you got a horse like Cyberknife, who isn't quite as reliable as a horse like Taba, but should probably beat that field. It makes for an interesting betting race, this Pegasus. You remember last year, you kind of had the two options, and that was it. This year, you're going to be a little bit different. You got a lot of different ways you can go. There's a preview video actually of the nominations up on the YouTube page where we kind of go over all of them, and you can tell there's some options there. It's not going to be a top heavy race.
Yeah, there's years that you maybe take your medicine and just go with one of those short prices, and there's years that and it doesn't come around very often, because what we've seen in the past is these races. And it is a similar path that we're seeing with Cyberknife, being that this is kind of his last race, and he's going to go out, to Stallion after this. And we see that a lot with this race, and that's kind of why they made this race. But you don't have, like you said, the Knicks Go or the Life is Good, and who faced him that day, or you don't have the some of the big dogs that are coming in here. You have Cyberknife, who, I mean, he's fine, but it's not like he's been flawless, right? He can be beat for sure. And so, yeah, it definitely adds some intrigue on how you play that. And it definitely would not fault anybody for trying to beat him at all.
Yep.
Part of me wants to beat him. Part of me, I mean, I'd definitely like to see him win, just go out on top. He's been a good horse, a gutty horse, but man, I don't know how you'd have a lot of confidence making that pick after he kind of struggled to get the job done in the Breeders' Cup. And I get it. He ran well, but still.
And I think where he draws and stuff like that is going to be important. You remember, like, when Gunrunner came and he drew outside and everybody went crazy. I said, it's Gunrunner. It's not a big deal. But an outside post for horses like Cyberknife, those kind of things start to matter, right? And so how he draws and who else really shows up and pace and all the kind of stuff that goes into a handicapping, when you're handicapping normal horses, where maybe when it's the gun runners and the arrogance of the world, you just kind of forget it. It doesn't really matter. They'll get the job done. Those handicapping angles are coming in to play this year big time because there's no star.
Yeah, part of you hopes that, it's like maybe he draws the rail, or that way you can have a little more confidence in playing against him. Versus having a perfect post, and then you just kind of have to hope he's good enough. So we'll talk about that, obviously, in the coming weeks as we get closer. But let's get into today's show. We're going to give the latest 2023 Kentucky Derby Contenders news and updates. Then we're going to get some rapid fire selections for some of the major stakes races this weekend at Oaklawn Park, Anita Park, and Tampa Bay. Let's go.
Hard to believe it's that close.
I don't know. It feels like it's sort of sneaking up too, just because I think not a lot of, usually you see most years, I should say, like you have like the excitement of one of, these horses coming in is going to be It's gonna be a great matchup. Can't wait. This one, you're just kind of like, we'll see. He shows up.
Yeah,
it's hard to get too excited about it, but
right.
when the week of, I guarantee you, everyone will be
Excited.
All right, let's do a little derby again. Like always, if you have questions, thoughts, you want to send prayers to your horse, or hoping the horse gets in, let us know in the chat, and we will definitely add it in here and talk about it if we can. Lots to cover here, Halterman. So let's get into it here. All right, we are just a few weeks, almost 2 weeks into 2023, and the Derby preps are starting to ramp up here, especially here in the coming weeks. As we approach April, which obviously is a lot of the final preps, March and February, of course, but really March and April is when we'll start to see the big dogs and really make their names known. But right now is what we're finding is trying to figure out the other horses, the new shooters, the horses that maybe we're waiting on the other ones, but we're seeing some of these other horses come through, like Reincarnate or Victory Formation for Brad Cox, who trying to figure out which one of these, are these legit horses for down the road. So we're just going to kind of start to go through some of these new the ones like the Reincarnates, or some of the ones that might be running this weekend that are still unknown completely by some people, but might be someone that we'll make mention of after the fact. So we had the Sham, we had the Jerome last weekend, Lugan's Night, Reincarnate. I know. I mean, in general, the Sham is a lot more productive race than the Jerome is, and I think seeing Reincarnate win like that gave you and gave myself some confidence that, hey, this horse might be somewhat legit.
You looked at him in the paddock. That was the first indicator that he was going to run really well. He looked better than all the other Baffert horses in that race. So, I take the Jerome and just kind of toss it. I think a horse like Lugan Knight might be a decent horse, maybe one turn or maybe a mile is the most. I don't think I really want him going long. I don't think he's a Derby prospect. But for Reincarnate, that was a big-time win. This is the first question I wanted to ask because I've been dying to do it. National Treasure, third in the Sham. That was a close third, and he ran okay late, real late. He finally felt like he got his feet under him. Okay, Forte, Cave Rock. They beat National Treasure by 4 or 5 lengths. Not it wasn't close, but it wasn't a total blowout either. Him getting third in the Sham, what does that mean? Because everybody's kind of got Forte, Cave Rock up there in that 1-2 spot. Are these going to be 2-year-olds that kind of come back to the crop as everybody gets going and we get to age 3? That's the first question I wanted to ask you. Does the National Treasure finish hurt your thoughts on Forte or Cave Rock?
I wouldn't say it hurts, but it doesn't help. It didn't both, like, if you see him roll through it, you go after the race, you say, oh man, how good are those two? Like, those two must be really good if he did that. The fact that he had every opportunity to win that race and was a very short price, 3 Bafferts in the race. He was easily the most bet on Baffert. He was bet like a Baffert horse that should have rolled, and he didn't. In fact, he couldn't even get second, and that was concerning to me. I'd look at that race more of he's not as good as maybe a lot of people thought versus Reincarnate being this A-tier horse for Bob Baffert. I don't think he is an A-tier horse, honestly, but I do think he's a good solid horse. But a Cave Rock, or if you want to put Arabian Night in there, if he's one of the top Baffert horses, if you want to say that, some of those horses you would think would get past Reincarnate there.
You would think so. I think National Treasure is certainly one that I wouldn't give up on. I got a text from a buddy of ours, and he said, well, he's done. And it's like, no, he's not done. It's one prep of the 3-year-old season. He did not get the cleanest of trips. He probably will be back. I still sit there and think, yeah, that's not the greatest thing if you're holding a future wager on Forte or Cave Rock. You want to see National Treasure romp in that situation, and he just didn't. But again, I'm kind of with you. I think I'm on the fence with it. I didn't take it as a huge kind of knock against Cave Rock or Forte, but not exactly what you wanted to see. I think you got 3 Bafferts right there that are fairly close to each other. I thought Newgate ran pretty well. Reincarnate obviously pretty well. And I didn't think National Treasure was near as bad as what a lot of people thought. And it seems like you think that as well. I don't think any of the 3 are going to win the Kentucky Derby, though. That's the main thing.
And I'm seeing a lot of comment. Definitely feels like people are team National Treasure here in terms of maybe. I'm seeing some comments about from Michael. He was boxed. He would have won by a length with a cleaner trip. Now, listen, there was 4 other horses in the race. I'm sorry, but I hate that excuse when it's a small field like that. It's like, come on. Like, if he was good enough, he wins the race. Now, I'm not saying he's a terrible horse. I'm not saying, like, forget the horse. He's a joke. But I'm just saying that maybe how a lot of people put him, he was drafted in the first round in our fantasy league. He's right there. He's, I guess, off the top of my head, 3rd Baffert horse drafted?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's 3rd best Baffert horse. Let's just put it that way. That's kind of my point.
He's not a star. That's what it tells me. He's not bad. He's not a star. It's as simple as you could put it. I think you can mention him in the same breath with the 2 horses that finished ahead of him. Yeah, maybe different trips, different things happen, but they're not stars, none of them. And so that puts you, is Arabian Night a star, or is Cave Rock a star? And that's your next step with the Baffert horses.
Hey, Michael, is one quick, if you're with I don't know what your connections are with the Baffert barn, but is Gandolfini alive or not? just let me know in the comments below. But no, Arabian Night looks good. And that, and he's another one. I guess we can pivot from that as we're talking about Baffert here. I'm not like, if you said, and I've seen a few of our shows, like who would you be is it too early to make a Derby pick? Who is your Derby pick? And at this point, how do you even pick and I don't care if you're talking Arabian Night or if you're talking Arabian Lion, or if it's National Treasure, or if it whoever, or Falston, I don't care. How do you have any confidence to pick a Baffert horse right now? Because we don't know when you're talking about Arabian Night, he's MIA. He keeps getting pushed back. And then the other thing is we don't know how Baffert's going to get points, how he's going to get into the Derby at this point. We still have that looming as well.
Yeah, there's a few hurdles for sure that, we kind of had to deal with last year, and it kind of screwed things up. But yeah, that's the big question. And who is the best? And I really think this race kind of told us these horses aren't the best. They're not. They're good horses. They're going to have good seasons, I think, but they're not. They can't be his best. And if they are, he's not going to win the Derby. So I'm really interested in Arabian Night, because sometimes you see a horse debut huge and then they come back and they're not that great. You think about Spun Intended, a horse that second out absolutely romped at Del Mar. You thought he was going to be great. Then he's hurt, and then it's over for him in the Sham, and that's terrible. Well, you just never know when you got that horse with 1 start, like Arabian Night. Might be great, might not, So I'm very interested to see how he comes out of it, see if he takes that next step. And then let's see if Cave Rock keeps maturing and becomes that big 3-year-old. Sometimes you lose that last race as a 2-year-old. It's the best thing that ever happened. You fly under the radar a little bit as that 3-year-old. You don't have all the hype, and you can just kind of hopefully improve and progress. And I'm thinking still Cave Rock's his best horse.
It probably. I think with Arabian Night, the one positive you can say is like he's definitely treating the horse to be more like he knows it's his big horse.
Yeah.
He's saving the horse later, which is scary, but maybe to him he's thinking, well, I just need 1 or 2 races out of him before the Derby.
It seems like the 2-race strategy is going to be it. He was recently quoted in the Daily Racing Forum thinking the Rebel could be the possibility. So it might be a little tight, but it could be the Rebel on the last weekend in February for Cave Rock. And that'd be a good spot for him to come back, and then they could go, either Arkansas Derby, Santa Anita Derby, something like that for his last start. So definitely a two start before the Derby type of situation. It seems like for Cave Rock. at least according to Baffert's comments in the DRF article.
Yeah, and Michael can confirm that Gandolfini is alive, but not James Gandolfini, who is okay. Well, that's great. Not that the other one's dead, but my horse is alive. The horse was working a bunch and then hadn't worked since mid-December, so I was kind of wondering what was going on there. But an extra Neo back. I see back in training, just back to fairgrounds. So we'll see what's next. But obviously, everything seems to have gone well with the surgery and kind of went as planned. That's what they all thought. And like I told you guys, or you and Paul in our group chat the other day, I was like, this is the best case scenario. Now, obviously, we'll see what happens. Like, you don't know how good he is, or he's still a horse with one start. But there's a lot of upside there.
Well, let's pivot from Baffert and let's go to the extra Anejo Loggins situation, right? So those were the two horses that were big names that got hurt or needed time off, one of the two, right? And so the good news is, you just said it, extra Anejo is back with Asmussen. They said they're going to gallop him a little bit, see how he's doing, and then start the work tab and start to get him back. If everything goes according to plan, he could come back by maybe that last week in February, first week in March, and have two preps. So the news today is very good for extra Anejo. The bad news is any kind of problem at all, and it really screws you up. So hopefully things go well for him. The Loggins situation seems bleak to me, Jared. I mean, we haven't heard any news on this horse. He's not with Brad Cox. I would almost say cross Loggins off the list as far as the Kentucky Derby goes. I have. I'm not sure on him. So your two quote-unquote injured horses, extra Anejo, the news is great. Loggins, it doesn't look good at all. However, if you want to pivot again, Jared, Brad Cox does still look pretty darn good. He's got a bunch of prospects.
Well, you talk about Baffert and trying to figure out his 1 and 1A and 1B and whatever. Like, good luck with Brad Cox. He's even harder to figure out as far as his horses that he has right now, and who's how Victory Formation and Corona Bolt and the Adjacent Road and all these horses like that seemingly look like potential stars on this trail, but until we start to see them really, and Jason's Road has done a little bit more, obviously, when a stakes race, but Victory Formation, even though it was a stakes race, still very lightly raced. Of course, Corona Bolt stretching out next in the Southwest, sounds like. So you're gonna really start to figure out what these horses are. But yeah, like I told you a while back, like, listen, we can sit here and talk about who we think is the best Cox horse right now, but it's really going to be one of those things where you're gonna find out as they win or lose these races coming up.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. You mentioned it, and like I said with Reincarnate, I thought he was kind of I don't call him a one pace horse, just a high motor horse. Get out in front, you got to come get me. He doesn't have that huge burst. That's kind of how I see a Victory Formation as well. I think they're very similar. But you look at Corona Bolt, that's the burst I'm talking about, where he has the ability to just run away from the field. That's what I saw from Corona Bolt. You've got him. I think it's going to be a really good horse. Now, question is, he's done it at one turn. Can he do it at two turns? I think we're going to find out here pretty quick. It sounds like maybe Southwest for Corona Bolt, or maybe the Rebel. They're kind of, with Cox, you don't really know right now, but I think he's going to find out pretty quick there. One Cox you didn't mention, Instant Coffee. This horse is probably going to run in the LeCompte next weekend. He won the Kentucky Jockey Club. He's pretty darn good. And one of the horses he beat, Cyclone Mischief, who won that allowance last weekend at Gulfstream and did it really, really well. He's interesting as well for Dale Romans.
Yeah, Cyclone Mischief. We never hear this about his horses, but apparently is one of the best horses, if not the best horse he's ever trained. Cyclone Mischief claimed in our league this week, and
yeah,
I mean, he's gonna run him. He's gonna run his ass off. Sorry, Coop. But he's gonna run him, but it's just a matter of how good is the horse. He looked good.
He looks, and Gabe just says beast. He looked like a beast in that race, Gabe, without any doubt. And I was very impressed with him. But he does kind of have that Romans form where it's like at times he's looked really good, and at times he's just kind of been average. And Gabe, I heard about this horse way back when Romans first kind of got him. It was like, this is a really good horse. And we've seen kind of the spots where he has shown it. If he can put it all together and keep it all together, he's going to be a big player down in South Florida on that scene. And then, of course, maybe Dale brings him up to the Bluegrass in Kentucky. You know, he kind of points for that one. But this horse is going to be a player on the scene. He's going to get chances. We know that for sure. It's just going to be, how consistent can this horse become? Because if he puts up an effort like he put up last Saturday, this horse can compete with anybody we've seen, on the 3-year-old circuit so far. He was very, very good in that race.
I mean, I think for me, if he's trained by anybody else, you get a lot more excited there. If it's a Pletcher horse that does that, that horse has probably got a 6-7 way shake in our league, but the fact that, there's a lot of positive. The fact that you've heard about this horse for a long time and knowing this horse should be good, and then goes and does that. And, say what you want about Dale Romans. He's impossible to bet because you just never know. But he's capable of winning races in these prep races. He's done it before with horses that are worse than Cyclone Mischief, so to say he can't win one of these or don't, are you confident in it? Probably not, but is it possible? Yeah, for sure. I think it is. So if he's good enough, he can maybe the horse I'm saying can maybe do enough to cancel out some of the Romans effect.
Yeah, anytime Dale gets Luis Saez to ride, it is a good sign because Luis will go over and ride those good ones for him. And now, of course, Luis didn't get to ride that allowance race because the race before, gosh, what a horrific spill. And thank God Luis Saez was okay during this. Unfortunately, the horse had to be put down, and that's awful. But I thought Luis was in big, big trouble after that breakdown. He came back. He was riding the next day, and he did miss the next race. Obviously, Tyler Gaffleone jumps aboard and wins with Cyclone Mischief. I think Cooper could have won on Cyclone Mischief that day, though. It was pretty easy. But Luis jumping aboard was a good sign and a telltale sign as well. So, yeah, I'm not going to sit here and dog the big guy just yet. He's doing a decent job with this horse so far, and we'll see. Holy Bulls next. Hopefully, he shows up and runs well. And I'm with Gabe. We're big fans of the Allball family and that stable. And, we've seen a lot of their horses with Kelly Von Hemel, who does a great job for them with the Iowa breds. And, I would love to see the Allballs have a really good horse.
Well, that's the thing, too, is the trainers like Romans, and, you could throw in McPeak in there as well. When they have one like that, there's no messing around. You're going to get Derby preps from here on out, basically. They're going to some trainers are going to be a lot more cautious or a lot more careful or slow with getting the horse in that right spot. Or maybe if the horse doesn't run so good in one race or one prep or something, then they're done. Whereas Romans, McPeak, let's keep throwing them out there. And for the purposes of what, if you like the horse, if you have a future wager on the horse, or if in our purposes of a fantasy league, yeah, it's nice to have one of those kind of horses that you just know are going to be running. Like, they're going to get all the chances they can get. You're not going to be worried about if they're going to actually run in a prep.
Honestly, write these 4 trainers down and make a note. Don't ever give up on their horses. Romans, McPeak, Cassie, and Lucas. They come from a school of thought of, hey, it's the next big race. I've got a horse. We're going to run them. And they're not going to sit there and wait for perfect spots and this and that. They're going to run them. And at times they're going to show up and run 8th, and you're going to go, that horse sucks. It's just the horse wasn't quite ready probably on that day, or just, little things. But when that horse is right, they can show up and win at big prices, and their form gets muddled. All 4 of those trainers, the form will get muddled on their horses, and they're not quite as bad as what that form might say. They just have a different philosophy. They're not going to wait 6 months, 6 weeks, 8 weeks between races. It's the next big race. It's a circuit I'm at. I've got a horse that can fill it. He's doing fine. Throw him in there.
Yeah, as long as the horse is healthy, they're going to be in there, and that's why you see horses, Lucas win these races sometimes, or Romans or McPeak, that win at huge prices when you don't see it coming. But if you kind of know those angles, sometimes it makes it a little bit easier spot those. All right, so we talked a little bit about that race last week at Gulfstream Park, the one that this horse Cycle Mischief came out of. You had one in there, Rutter's Men didn't run so well. Was there anything out of that race other than Cycle Mischief? And we can pivot from that as well to go kind of what some of these races are this weekend that are similar in terms of not stakes, but maybe have some value as far as the Derby Trail goes.
No, I didn't take anybody out of that one at all, other than obviously Cyclone Mischief. The rest of them were pretty disappointing. But if you want, I'll throw it up on the screen, the 4 races to watch this weekend, if you want me to do that now.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, I'm going to do it now. So these are the 4 races that are kind of similar to that allowance last week. I'll throw that up there now. Yep, there it is. Hey, I did it. So let's go Tampa Bay Downs on Friday. Which is tomorrow, the 13th. Oh, God, Friday the 13th. I don't know about that. Todd Pletcher's got a couple of horses in there, Classic Catch and Point Proven. They've kind of had a little bit of hype, so we'll see what they can do. Also, Prairie Hawk for Saffie Joseph. So that's one to look for tomorrow. Could be an interesting race, could produce something. That's an allowance at Tampa Bay Downs, and that is race number 6 tomorrow at Tampa. Keep on going for horses and races you need to watch. Oaklawn Park, race 4 on Saturday. This is an allowance race, field of 8. We have some fantasy horses in here, Gun Pilot and Verifying, 2 horses owned by the same team. But we'll see how that goes for those 2. Those are 2 horses for a Gun Pilot for Asmussen and Verifying for Brad Cox, 2 horses to look for. Judo is a horse that has had a little bit of talk for Brad Cox. Gun Flash for Carl Broberg coming out of the Springboard Mile. And then 2 Eagles River stretching out for Chris Hartman after a really good second on New Year's Eve not so long ago. So what do you think, Verifying back here? I know you've liked that horse for a while.
Yeah, that horse to me is the one, and obviously you can look at the odds and it's not a surprise, but that was one that I really liked, one that had on my list to potentially draft on, just because the horse had ran so well as a 2-year-old, didn't run well in the Breeders' Cup, but still, I mean, you gotta love the the breeding, to being a son of Justify. No, I mean, I think the horse is the logical spot, and again, could kind of throw another Cox if this horse runs well. Could throw another Cox horse in the mix that we could be sitting here talking about which one of the, is Verifying, another Corona Bolt or Victory Formation.
Yeah, I know, right? And where are we going to go if we win here? That's the thing. Are we setting up for the Rebel? Or, what are we going to do?
The one positive thing is you're going to start to see. You're going to start to see, because like he's going to run. I think there's a potential of Jace's Road versus Corona Bolt, for instance, in the Southwest. You're going to start to see some of these horses face each other because they have to. Mm-hmm. And so we might be able to kind of, cancel a few of these out basically by having, head-to-head matchups.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And that's I was talking to Samich the other day, and he said he's become the Bob Baffert of kind of that Midwest / I don't know what you want to call, Louisiana and Oaklawn and Kentucky Turfway. I guess Midwest would be the right word for it. But he's kind of become the Bob Baffert of that, where it's like we're running on top of each other now because we've got so many prospects. So it'll be good to see Verifying, Gun Pilot, some of these horses, see what they do, kind of start to separate them. All right, 2 maiden races to watch, and we'll go to something else here. Let's see. This race at Santa Anita on Saturday is race 4. It features a Jazzy, a Bob Baffert horse who's got a couple of seconds. The pretty good horse, a very expensive horse. Wooster in there in the number 7 as well. So a couple of horses there for Baffert. Kind of a, hey, let's see what happens, right? Does he have another really good one in him? Have you looked at this one yet, Jared? I know it's been kind of quick that this one just came out.
I glanced at it. I mean, just to see who was actually in the race, but I haven't really studied it at all. I know, I mean, Hijazi is one, obviously being a horse that it's like I don't remember what the horse cost, but it's a big purchase. And I know that didn't Ryan and John have that or draft that horse?
Yes, they did. Yeah.
So I mean, that obviously, John's gonna. He at least thinks the horse is good, and now we'll see. I mean, again, it's that time of the year when you're going to start to figure out if any of these are good. The Worcester, is that how you say it? Worcester?
Worcester.
Oh, Worcester. I would never have said that. That's one I definitely had on my list. I think I had told you about this. At the time of the draft, this horse was not officially listed with Bob Baffert, but it was kind of known the horse would be, or was. And so when this horse was in that race, that main special weight with, I believe that was the Falston race, and I was excited to see him. Now, I didn't think he ran that great, so obviously he's gonna have to rebound a little bit. To me, this is more of a situation of how good is Hijazi, and how, is this horse actually a $3.5 million horse?
Yeah, that's going to be the interesting one. Can Baffert get him going? And if Baffert doesn't win, there's two O'Neills in this race too. It's going to be interesting. I don't know. Jazzy's been a little disappointing. Like I said, Worcester pretty disappointing in that race, but he might pop out of that and be okay. So interesting. Johnny Velasquez, not aboard either Baffert horse. I thought that was, I don't know. There's just something to think about, right? So we'll see. All right, one more maiden we'll talk about. It's going to be race 8 Saturday at Gulfstream Park. It's a field of 11. We do have a fantasy league horse here with the number 2 King's Barn. This is a debut runner for Todd Pletcher, who's gotten some hype. People have been talking about this horse quite a bit. He's in there with a good group here. Like I said, field of 11. Chad's got one. Shug's got one. Big Dale's got one. Safi Joseph. Kings Barn's going to have to be pretty good, I think, to win this one. A lot of unknowns in this race here. But Kings Barn, Jared, what do you think? Is he going to come through for Paul?
I don't know. I mean, I think with Pletcher, it's a very similar situation. Obviously he has Forte, but past that, it's kind of trying to figure out which one of these Pletchers is good enough. And obviously a little bit behind the plan here, being that it's mid-January and the horse is just going to be debuting. So the horse is going to have to be really good kind of to show that, okay, we can go on from here, and, potentially might not see the horse in a Derby prep for a couple of months. But listen, I've heard a lot of hype from this horse as well. So, it's time for the horse to kind of, show it on the track.
Yeah, it is. It seems like he's worked out forever. And I know it hasn't been that way but I've heard about him for a while now. And yeah, time to see.
Dude, he's had. I mean, just in the last 60 days, he's had like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 workouts.
Yeah,
in the last 60 days. I mean, they've been working him like crazy. But I mean, working well. Obviously, a big purchase price for Spendthrift, and I mean, it's got all the right, Uncle Mo out of a Tappet mare. I mean, there's a ton to like about the horse. It's just gonna, like I said, he's gonna have. I think to me, he's gonna be really good, because it's not a terrible field, a deep field, and he's gonna be really good to kind of show that this might be a horse worth watching on the trail.
Yep, for sure. Well, that's it. That's the 4 races that you really need to watch out for the Derby this week. Had to get a little creative because nothing going on as far as a real prep goes, but these can make an impact. Like we saw last week, that allowance race, pretty much just as important as the 2 preps.
Yeah, and like again, like we kind of had a little bit of break here. Lecomte is the 21st, Southwest is the 28th. Then you get into February, and then of course you got the Withers and the Holy Bull and the Robert B. Lewis and the Sam F. Davis, and of course from there you're getting into the Risen Star and the Rebel, and it's just real. I mean, once the Southwest and the Lecomte kind of hit, I feel like you start to have a better idea of where these horses are going. Who's because the other thing is you're starting to see like with Brad Cox, he sent Corona Bolt. We think he's gonna go to Oaklawn, but then Victory Information is gonna go to Fairgrounds. And then you have Extra Neho at Fairgrounds, but it wouldn't be impossible to see that horse come to Oaklawn and run one of those races either, because Asmussen, of course, has a lot of stock there as well. So it's like you're trying to figure out where these horses are going to run, where they're going to enter. It's going to be super interesting, super critical and maybe a little bit more of a sign of how what these trainers think of those horses as we get into the meat of these Derby preps here in this winter into spring.
You said it best. I don't need to say any more.
Of course, I said it best. All right, guys, that's a recap or a preview and a recap of what we're looking at so far with the 2023 Kentucky Derby Contenders.
All right, I'll take that off there. There you go.
That's why they pay me the big bucks, Halterman.
That's right. Look at me. I was able to do it.
I know.
I
don't know if anybody's... Cooper, you all right? Midway through that segment, he hit his head on the desk and he he's behind the chair. I don't know if you guys can see the chair there moving occasionally. He's behind the chair. And every once in a while he's making funny noises. So I don't really know what's happening.
Like I say, when I see him, I just try to extend what I was going to say. So you have a second to deal with him.
Yeah. I've muted myself a few times, but he's doing good. He's
very good.
Compared
to how he could be doing, he's very good.
Oh yeah. And it's it's a ticking time bomb. So we just, it's just the more we talk, the better chance of the end of the show being, hey Cooper, can you move the chair at all? No. He must not be back there anymore. All right, time for Rapid Fire presented by the Racing Dudes Premium Free Picks. Make sure you go check out racingdudes.com. Just look at the free picks tab on the website and look for free premium. You get an idea of exactly what we offer every single day for all the tracks running. A free track we have listed every single racing day, free picks. You can see exactly what we're working with and what you might want to subscribe for. Of course, if you haven't been using Racing Dudes Premium, this is the time to subscribe as we get into all these big races coming up at the big tracks starting to run their big races. Handicap, we have Soma Bombs from Mike Samich. You have the Rockets from Halterman and I to help you cash in big. Racing Dudes Premium also includes access to weather updates and a wagering calculator. Of course, the wagering guides coming out. The next one, I believe, is the Pegasus, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that guide will be coming out soon. And you get access to those as well if you are a subscriber of Racing News Premium. So make sure you go to racingnews.com and learn more. All right, Halterman, we do have an Oaks prep this weekend, the only Oaks/Derby prep of the weekend. And we'll go to Aqueduct for this one on Saturday, race 8 at Basanda Stakes. It's an Oaks prep, 10, 4, 3, 2, 1 for your top 5. Not super exciting race. Field of 5. You got 7-5 on a Colt for Chad Brown versus the 9-5 Affirmative Lady from Graham Motion. Pletcher's also got the 1 Gambling Girl, and Pletcher's also has the 5 Aniston. So you've got like some decent horses in here, decent trainers that maybe potentially could see some of these horses make some noise as they get down the Oaks trail, right?
It's interesting. Yes. And it's interesting that Manny Franco is on the 3 Affirmative Lady and not on the 2 Occult, even though he was on the 2 last time out. So I followed Manny. Manny is doing very, very well at this meet. I followed him. I'm going to go Affirmative Lady, the 3 horse on top here. Last time out, narrowly lost to Julia Shining. Pretty nice horse with a decent future, at least people think. And so I'm going to go with Affirmative Lady to get the job done here. I like her at this distance of 1.1 miles.
I'm with you. That's ultimately who I picked. I love the horse hadn't been great going the 1 turns at Keeneland. Then went to Aqueduct and stretched out to 1.1 miles and really ran a nice race, increased the buyer quite a bit there as well. And beat Gambling Girl that day is who obviously is a legit choice in here. I think a Colt, is probably the deserving favorite off of that maiden special weight, the impressive maiden special weight win. But I feel like the upside is maybe a little bit higher. Plus, I think the race might set up a little bit better for the 3 Affirmative Lady. And like you said, you can't. Franco's hitting at like 42%. It's nuts. Like he's on fire. So I like the fact that, you got him over a colt, like you said, who he was on last time. And it's not like if he's been riding Affirmative Lady. Velasquez has been on that horse. And so the fact that he jumps over to that one full Graham motion says a lot. So I'm with you as well. I followed Manny and went the 3 Affirmative Lady.
It's just hard not to do that.
I think that race is very interesting. There's some nicely, like I said, there's some nicely bred horses in that race. It's always a weird race in terms of this time of the year running a mile and 1/8. So it's always a little tricky to kind of gauge that as we move forward. But it also obviously would tell you a little bit about what they should do, right? Moving forward, it's a good time to get, and I think our horse there, the 3 being sired by Arrogate, is and of course the 2's a really well bred, both big purchase prices. So definitely follow those horses and see what they do here. All right, let's go to Oaklawn Park on Saturday, race 9, the 5th season stakes. It's worth $150K for 4-year-olds and up, going 1 mile, field of 10. Lines up here. Peter Miller now trains Ginobili and is a 7-5 favorite coming into Oaklawn. What do you think?
I hate the price. I do hate the price, but I took number 8, Ginobili, on top here. You look at the race last time out with the first race for Peter Miller. It was off of a long layoff in an allowance race. Got second, only beaten ahead by Get Her Number, who came back and ran really, really well the next time out. So I am going to take number 8, Ginobili, second off the layoff, stretching back out to a mile, which I think is his best distance. However, look out for number 6, Rated R Superstar, the sports man. He just keeps winning races. He's now 10 years old. We'll see if he can do it, the defending champion. I don't think he's going to this time. I think Ginobili's going to be too good.
Yeah, man. Just that. He's at the point now where, especially when it's at Oaklawn, it's just how do you go? I mean, I get going against him, but you can expect he's going to run his race. He's going to be coming. And you know what? He's capable of winning at any moment.
Yep.
Rated R Superstar in these kind of races, right? Because it's like if Ginobili doesn't fire, isn't very good. Well, this thing is wide open, because that's the way I see it. Ginobili is the pick. I think he's the best horse in the race. I don't necessarily think it's super close. It's just a matter of, we hadn't seen this horse since the Cigar last year. Came back in November, ran really well, didn't win, but got beat by Get Her Number, of course, now stablemate of Ginobili. So the fact that ships into Oaklawn Park, I think the horse is just a little bit better than the rest of this field. I wanted to take, because it's kind of in the department of a McPeak horse that I would play in King Fury. I just don't know that I like that horse enough. There's not enough to go off of in terms of back. I just don't see how he can get it done. But he does have. There's some signs there that you could make a case for King Fury. But for me, I'm with you here. I'm number 8, Ginobili.
I mentioned Fury on the preview show. It's like this might be the time where he runs well.
I know. That's why he's dangerous, just because really plainly, putting it basically is like, because he shouldn't win, but that's sometimes the times that he has the most success. And that's what I'm saying. It's like, usually with a McPeak horse, it's like, okay, is he the right price? That's a check. Is the horse in good form, or at least, been working out? Maybe he has a recent race or something. Yes. But the key is, he's like, can he win this race? And it's like, I don't know that he can. I look back at all his races, and I don't know that there's a race there. Plus, the mile I wouldn't think is going to help him.
No, I wouldn't either. I wouldn't either. I think he needs longer, but we'll see.
All right, let's go to Santa Anita Park. Saturday, race 7, Law Cannon Stakes, grade 3. $200K for fillies and mares, 4-year-olds and up, going 1 mile and 16th, field of 6. Lines up here. You got the Baffert pair in here again, Under the Stars and Ganadora. I picked Ganadora last time out. Did not run well in that race, but maybe a little bit easier spot here. Of course, Under the Stars back in here as well. Are you going one of the Bafferts here, or do you like the smooth like butter?
Yeah, I'm going to go with your Ganadora again this time. I did not pick her last time. I will this time out. Just looks to be the lone speed in this race. And I don't love a lot of those horses behind her. So I think Ganadora is going to be the one to catch here. And I think she can do it. I kind of think the stretch out's going to help. She ran pretty good going two turns, two races back. So I'm going to go Ganadora. I'm going to give her another shot here. I don't blame you if you're not doing it, though.
No, I'm going to do it. I know. Can't help myself. I got suckered into it, the grade one, Libre, like, okay, this is a horse that obviously looks to be the hype, had won a race by 8 the time before that. I don't know if it was the 7 furlongs or what, but the horse just never had a lot of interest running late in that race. I'm with you. I think the horse, I like the fact that Velasquez is back aboard. That after that very disappointing effort in that Libre, so horses got fired 3 straight bullets, including a 1 of 44 last time out, going 5 furlongs and 59 flat almost. So obviously the horse is hyped up. I think the horse is going to try to go gate to wire here and maybe get a little gutty on the front end. So I'm hoping the horse can upset here. I don't know how much an upset it will. You think the 3 will be lower price?
That's tough to say. Probably, yeah, but that's tough one.
I mean, it's not like she ran well that day either,
No, these morning lines at Santa Anita are impossible at times.
So, all right, I do think the one's going to bounce back here in a big way. So I'm with you. I like the one, Ganadora. Yeah, Shotty, you like? I don't know what he's back there singing, but I don't know what he's singing, but he's almost doing it too to be a pest.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah.
Like he knows what he's doing. That's the funny thing. He's ran off, so who knows what he's up to now. All right, let's go to Tampa Bay for the last 2 here. Race 6 on Saturday, the Pasco Stakes, 125K for 3-year-olds going 7 furlongs. Field of 6, Halterman lines up, and again, it's not necessarily it's not a Derby prep at all, but it is sort of a prep for the series out there in Tampa at Tampa Bay. And race number 4, Champion's Dream from Mark Cassidy is your 6-5 favorite. Cassie's also got Armstrong in here at 6-1, 7-2 on Handsome Playboy, Loco Aberio at 3-1. It's not like it's definitely one of those races that every year we see kind of like a semi-flashy performance, and it gets you at least somewhat excited, or at least the connection sometimes excited for the Derby Trail. But who do you like here?
I have to go Champion's Dream. I think this is the class of the field. Won a maiden special weight at Saratoga on debut. We all know that's not easy to do. They tried the Champagne. It was a disaster. Came right back, though, in the Nashua and won and looked really, really good. I think he's better than this group, and I think that's all it comes down to. So Champion's Dream for me, the 4-horse. I really like him in the spot.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot to like with this horse. Definitely deserving favorite. Call me crazy. Took a shot against with the stablemate, the 5 Armstrong. I get why why you're. I mean, I don't think it's hard to say that Champion's Dream could definitely go and just cruise here. But the look at this horse has been running at Woodbine, and Cassie has brought this horse here now to Tampa, and has just been really, really good. Lost on debut, but the next 2, including a stakes win at Woodbine. Now, of course, that is on the synthetics, but if he can get this horse to run how the horse has been running on synthetics here, the horse might be pretty good. And I think he's at least very competitive, has shown speed. I like that. I think this horse might maybe try to steal this thing on the front end. Definitely think the 4 is the one to beat, but at 6-1 versus 6-5, I'm looking for a little value and maybe a field that's not necessarily, it's one of those fields we see a lot where it's like one of these horses goes gate to wire. You look at, like, say, the 2 who ran in crazy good race last time out, at least from a numbers perspective. If one of these horses does do that, it's like, oh my gosh, this is exciting. This horse could be pretty good. This is going to be dangerous in one of these these prep races at Tampa. Realistically not. I think if you're looking, the 4 is probably the one that's got the most, like, legitimacy to him. You know, like if this horse runs really well here, maybe he is somewhat of a threat in the Sam F. Davis or something. But past that, I don't know that I go anywhere else. As far as this race, I'm going to try to beat him with the 5 Armstrong.
I think there's more important races that aren't stakes that we covered earlier.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
This is not I mean, it's a Pasco. It's not, I don't know that we've had very many over the years, if we've ever had many horses that are owned in the fantasy league that are in that race.
Right.
But anyways, we'll move on to the next one, our final one on rapid fire, race 9. The Gasparilla Stakes. This is a kind of similar race, 125K for fillies, 3-year-olds going 7 furlongs. Again, kind of a prep of the preps. Field of 8 shows up here, and Darth Vader at 3-2 for Yates is your favorite. Thoughts on this favorite?
How can you go against Darth Vader? Is that not a great name for a horse or what? No, I love it. Won last time out in a very similar race at Tampa Bay Downs and did it pretty easily. Oh boy, call me crazy. I'm going to go against her here, and I'm going to go with number 3, Dreaming of Snow. I think this horse will like the stretch out, and I think the horse ran very, very well over this track last time out. I realized was beaten 2 races back by the heavy favorite, but I think she's going to turn the tables today. I think Dreaming of Snow gets to the lead. I like Comancho aboard for the 4th straight time. I just think she gets to the lead, and maybe she holds on today. So I'm going to go Dreaming of Snow and a mild upset.
Well, there you go. You're in the first one. You're picking against. You're picking the favorite. I'm trying to beat the horse. In this race, I'm picking the favorite, and you're trying to beat the favorite. So we'll see who's right here. Darth Vader for me. I mean, I didn't even have to look at. I didn't have to look at the past performances. I just saw the name and thought,
there you go. Yeah.
That's who I'm going to root for all year. The daughter of Gervin, of course, the hot sire. But no, listen, this horse has rattled off 2 wins in a row very impressively. That last race was really good. I've been running in state bred type races and then kind of opened up company in the Sandpiper last out at this track and just dusted him. Looked really, really good. I think this horse is tactical enough to where if there is some sort of speed, and there seems on paper there is with the 3, especially, you would think this horse, Darth Vader, can sit close enough. I'm going to try to say Darth Vader as many times as I can as I talk about why I want to pick Darth Vader. And I think she's tactical enough to where she can sit close, but also have enough run late and just kind of outclass the rest of them. So I'm on number 4, Darth Vader. Luke.
It is a good one.
What a name.
It's pretty funny.
That's right. That's all the time we have. Check us out at racingnews.com for our free picks and our premium selections on our products page. Click the Get Racing News premium button at mini at racingnews.com to learn more. You can check out all of our episodes of Blinkers Off by visiting our podcast page or go to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, all the places you listen to podcasts. We are there. Go to YouTube and search Racing Dudes or just at Racing Dudes on YouTube, and you can subscribe and watch all of our podcasts live or after the fact on our YouTube page. Tons and tons of content out there. Make sure you hit like, make sure you subscribe so you will be alerted when we go live. Hit that notification bell as well. We're on Twitter at racing_dudes, Instagram and Facebook. Halterman, what are your thoughts on this weekend's playoff games? Okay, 2 questions actually. First one, how much did you enjoy the national championship?
Yeah.
And 2, what are your thoughts on this weekend's playoff games? Quickly, because I know
like the national
you're about to talk about those.
Yeah, I like the national championship was over at the half, so I didn't have to watch much more of it. So we were live for the national championship game, and we were at the half. We're like, yeah, we're getting off of here. We're not staying for the second half of this game. It was awful. So it was bad. It was really bad. This weekend, all the favorites should win. I think Tampa might beat the Cowboys just because it's the Cowboys, but I think all the teams that are favored to win will probably win this weekend. I don't see a lot of upsets.
I don't. Just the fact that Tua is not playing, it's like, okay, well, that I mean, that was gonna be tough either way. But the fact he's not, it's like, okay, forget it. And then Lamar's not playing. And that to me, I thought they could potentially be sneaky against Cincinnati with Lamar, but no, not happening. So those are two foregone conclusions, unfortunately. So although that would be a hell of a game to see those two play next up, and then yeah, I mean, I don't see a lot of upsets, although it seems logical. There always is one. The Cowboys losing is easily the most likely, I think, just because I don't think anybody really would love to play Tampa first round, and at Tampa because they are the favorites of that, or they're the low seed of the game, right? But no, make no mistake, if Dallas loses, it's an upset because, I mean, no matter what, they collapse late, but still. And yeah, the national championship. I was excited for it. I had the kids, but I thought I'm gonna go to bed, or they're gonna go to bed, and I'll be able to watch like this, the second half, and it's gonna be, it should be a fun game. And I mean, I kept checking. I had it on the TV at home while we were doing stuff and getting ready for bed, and I just thought, well, not watching that. This thing was it's embarrassing. I mean, that was beyond bad. And I don't know, even you, who thought this was a very one-sided game going into it, thought that it would be that kind of one-sided. I mean, I saw the largest margin of victory in bowl history in any kind of game ever. That's insane.
I said 45-17. I didn't think it'd be a game, but that was like, that was just horrific. It was so bad. And I don't know how Ohio State lost to Michigan, and I don't know how Michigan lost to TCU. Those are just head scratchers because you watch the semifinal games, and TCU Michigan was a fantastic game. And then Ohio State probably should have beat Georgia in that game. And then you would have had Ohio State against TCU, so they got to be kicking themselves. But yeah, TCU they were just manhandled. They were just out-athleted ridiculously bad.
They scored, and I saw that, and I thought, oh, okay, here we go. I think it was like 17-7 maybe, or something at that point. I don't know what it was when TCU scored. Was it 10-7 even at that point?
10-7, yep.
So I thought, okay, like this might be something. And then it was almost like Georgia just needed that to happen so they could be like, all right, we're not letting that happen anymore. So it was I felt bad. I always feel bad. You never see them that bad, but you always feel bad for the announcers in those kind of games. Just how do you even the build up, and then the fan or the viewers are just falling off here because they're not watching the game, and then how do you just come up? I mean, the game was over in the second quarter.
We were live, like I said, and by about midway through the second quarter, we just started talking about other stuff. I mean, we were just like, we weren't even watching the game hardly because it was over. And I mean, if you watch football, you knew there was no coming back. It was a situation where Georgia could run any play and get a first down, and when that happens, it just kills. Even like, I think it affected the TCU offense because they're like, well, we could score 100 and we're never going to win because they just couldn't stop them no matter what. They could not stop them. And yeah, Shotty said we started like looking at the hockey scores, looking at the NBA, see what's going on there. It's like, well, it's a sports show, and we need to talk about betting in some regards. So we just tried to do the best we could. Because the other thing, like the fun thing about the national championship last year, you kept watching those live lines, and it's like, okay, now this flips who you might bet. There was not a line that was going to be offered to TCU that you could take. A couple of our commenters like, if it gets in the 40s, I'm taking TCU, and it's like, I don't think it's going to be enough.
Yeah, it was. Well, heck, Georgia hit the over themselves.
I know. Yeah,
the people that bet the over in those games were sweating it because you just think, well, there's, second quarter, you're thinking, well, there's no way we're going to hit this now because it's just they're going to coast now.
Yep.
But that you got to give credit, just to Smart and those guys. Like they leave no doubt. They kept playing, man. They ended up taking out Stetson. They had to. I mean, right? Just because, what's the point? But that dude may had 10 touchdowns if they would have kept the foot on the gas.
Oh, absolutely. And that was the over was kind of a big debate on the show because it's like, how many can we really expect out of TCU? And we all kind of, Samich was the leader of this. It's like, I think Georgia's going to score enough where they're not going to have to do anything. And it ended up being the case. Samich had a bunch of overs. And again, midway through the second quarter, it's like, realistically, what can TCU score? And, we thought maybe they can get to 17, 14, something like that. And of course, they get to 7. But it didn't matter because, like I said, Georgia could literally run any play, and they were gonna get yards. And you can't be competitive when that's the case.
So at the beginning of the NFL season, we predicted Chiefs versus. I think we both had Chiefs versus the 49ers.
Yep.
And we've got the 1 seed and we got the 2 seed.
Yep.
In their respective divisions, so or conferences. So, I mean, if I asked you, do you want to change it? Would you change either one of those as we head into it?
Nope. I'm sticking with him.
Here's the thing: I don't know. If it's not, I still feel good about the 49ers. The other side is to me it's definitely 1, 2, or 3. It'd be completely shocking if it was not, but I think any of those 3 could do it. So I'll stick with the Chiefs, but I don't have a ton of expectations. Let's just put it that way.
I think your road is going to be really tough. I think that first game, if the Chargers take care of business, I think the game against Chargers is going to be really tough.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I always say this at the beginning of the season. It's and they're it's tough to beat your division, and we, of course, we usually sweep it, but it's tough to sweep your division. So to beat the Chargers twice is tough. To beat them 3 times in the year, now when they're completely healthy for the most part, they're firing on all cylinders. They're dangerous.
You need to root for Jacksonville for sure.
Oh, I am. I am.
And you're going to think I'm nuts. You need to root for the Bills. I think the Chiefs will beat the Bills if it comes down to that. I don't think they're going to beat Cincinnati.
I know. I don't want Cincinnati is the team I'm most fearful of in that side. Bills, honestly, it might be Chargers than Bills. It's close though. I think the Chargers are dangerous. I think you're going to see San Francisco a 1-2 in the NFC. I think you're going to see Eagles, and that'll be a hell of a game. Really, both sides should be really good games. So
listen, Bills versus Cincinnati, or Chiefs versus Cincinnati, or the Bills is going to be great. Toss up.
I think everybody wants. Maybe I'm everybody. Maybe I'm speaking out of. It'd be because they announced today. I think it was today they announced it. If we do have a Bills versus Chiefs, it's going to be played in Atlanta.
Ooh.
So in the Mercedes Dome. So that would be fun. Mm-hmm. AFC Championship and on a neutral site against the 2 best teams in AFC in that stadium. That's pretty spectacular. Like that would be one hell of a show. So I'm kind of rooting for that, even though, I'd love to be at Arrowhead or, have the game at Arrowhead, but that's pretty awesome.
That would be very interesting. I would love to see that. Listen, with the AFC, if it's Chiefs, Chargers, Bills, Cincinnati, from that point on, you just can't go wrong. Those are 2 great games, and they'll produce a great championship game no matter who wins. I think those 4 teams are probably better than anything in the NFC. I really believe that. So if those are the situations, that's going to be fun. NFC, it's definitely top heavy. Those 2 teams are good at the top. After that, it gets pretty shaky. I don't know about some of those teams underneath. So we'll see how that NFC shakes out. But got a chance to have a huge AFC push, so to speak. It should be a lot of fun once you get by this first round. Those bottom teams, not great. Once you get by that, it's going to be good.
You call me crazy, but if there's any upset, if there's any potential of the NFC Championship not being the 1-2. You know what team I think is the most likely besides those two?
Let's hear it.
The New York Giants. I just think that, and I get it. It's a stretch, but I think they're going to beat the Vikings.
Yeah, I like that draw.
And I just the way they've been playing really well late. I get like they didn't even play their starters last, but they have good run game and good defense. And hey, Danny Dimes, man, he's been playing well. I think they can upset if there is going to be an upset. I think it's them that could potentially get into the championship there. I think it's unlikely, but obviously, if I'm picking a team that's not 1-2, it's the Giants.
I like their draw. I think that second game is going to get them, though. I don't trust them to go to Philadelphia and win, but I think they can beat Minnesota for sure. Then it gets interesting after that. But yeah. Giants in Minnesota, that's a pretty even matchup in my estimation.
The Minnesota run has to. It has. I mean, that's like it's one thing. It's like you feel like they're battle tested because every game they play basically is battle tested, but they always come out on top. Seemingly, it's like surely in the playoffs that's going to get them. You would think, but
I would think so. Yeah, and if not the first round, definitely the second round. That's the way I look at it. I mean, that's an implosion waiting to happen. But like I said, NFC, it's weak. And, the top two teams are pretty good. After that, I don't like hardly anything in there.
All right, guys. Stay tuned for is Magic Mike. What are they doing? Do you know?
So we've got Dudes Who Bet Sports coming up in 42 minutes. So we got that coming up. That's going to be a big show. We'll talk about these NFL games in depth. And then the Magic Mike show, I guess they're going to do Gulfstream. That's my guess. I don't know that for sure yet. And that'll be either 4 Central or 4:30. I never know. I think it's 4.
All right. And how about we give this dude a hand for being so good today?
Yes,
huh?
Very good. Very good. He always is.
All right, everybody. All right. I'm Jared Welch. He's an alternate, and he is. What's your name? Say it loud.
Eminem.
What's your name?
Poop.
Poop the coop. Poop the coop. Coop the pooper. All right. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in, and good luck this weekend.